Well, good morning. This is the Knox County Commissioners, October 21st, 2025. We have our authority for the Knox County Water and Wastewater, and Jeff will turn it over to you to do your update.
All right, good morning, everyone. We will start out, most of the stuff that you see on your list is all water this time, but we're gonna start out with a couple sewer projects. This has been one of the ongoing things with Harbor View Pump Station, and we know we've had some issues with I&I, and we've corrected some of that. We had discovered that velocities weren't high enough in the force mains, so we have done, or we're in the process of doing some upgrades. Tomorrow, it looks like we're going to get these pumps installed. You should pick up 35 to 40 gallons a minute at the minimum on pumping capacity, which with that in conjunction with the leaking laterals that we found, hopefully we won't have any more problems back there with those houses during wet weather times. Still issues to be fixed on that part of it, but hopefully we're going to transport all that water and get it to the plant and not in people's houses or causing them some backups. So good thing. That's the best we're going to be able to do there without a major power update. Those are the biggest pumps we can run on a single phase power. So we're doing everything we can. They've got the control panel upgraded. Our electrician did that last week, so we should be good to go there. So hopefully that'll be one of those non-existent customer complaints that we have in the future. So next item down through there is our new track hoe that we ordered back in I think it was like April or so. We did some good negotiations. We shopped around for pricing and ended up our cost out of pocket is only going to be $38,000 for a brand new track hoe. Retail price is $109,000. So with the trade-in of ours, we also had a John Deere tractor out there that didn't use very much, so we utilized some equipment that we weren't utilizing much and traded it into. So with all the other little fees. It is in Maryland. They call them Friday. It's been on a boat for a long while. It's in Maryland, and we won't hold our breath, but we're supposed to be getting it by the end of the month.
What's the name brand if it's on a boat, may I ask?
It's a New Holland.
New Holland,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's a New Holland. It's wrote down. It's I actually put the model number and everything in there. It's an E50D. I think the township out there got one just very similar, and the guys really liked how it was, the compactness of it, turning radius on its skid, so you can get close to some things. Which some of the times when we're digging is there's a lot of stuff. So landscaping and stuff. So anyway, we're looking forward to that. That'll be we're slowly trying to get things upgraded and done so that we don't have breakdowns on pieces of equipment, because when we need them, when we have like we had last whatever it was Tuesday, we need our equipment. Vector truck, came in handy. Those guys got the water leak done in 2 hours.
Oh, good.
I mean, that was remarkable. We were able to get in there. We don't have to wait for oops because we're not digging, we are sucking. So that thing has paid for itself over and over again. So
Well, it was what, 300 some thousand?
yeah, it was almost $400,000 at that point in time. I've got one payment left, and then it will
Okay.
actually be officially ours. So we'll be making a payment in the first of the year on that. But
Good.
yep, even it had everything but the kitchen sink, but it all works. So
Tell me something, Jeff, because I don't know anything about water and sewer. Every time there's a water break, do we do a boil advisory after that?
don't necessarily have to. It all depends on what takes place. There's a lot of different parameters. You can have dirty water and I wouldn't drink it. I mean, that was what some of the customers were, calling in, and that's why we tried to get the message out to them that, you're going to have dirty water when you have a massive break like we did. I apologize. I should have put those pictures in. We had some pictures, but the boulevard was running like a river.
Okay.
That's a 12-inch line. That is our main line from our booster station to pump to the back tank.
What caused the break on that one?
So had a hole in it about like this.
Just from the pipe eroding or?
Yeah, it's been in there for a while and we're gonna look at that. That's one of the things that the managers and I talked about afterwards was that looking at what we can do to maybe possibly next year in a project or the year after that, putting another line in there, a parallel line. So if something happens with that one, we have another one sitting there in place, ready to go, because if that line blows completely apart, we have no water to go to the Apple Valley customers. And that back feeds from the back tanks. So, we can valve some stuff off, you end up, but then we'll have no means of getting water to the back tank. So we would definitely be on to conserve water. But that's the reason why we put the message out on, I know it was Tuesday night last week, was conserve water because the tower was pretty low. We had dropped down, but oil advisories are all dependent. If you shut things down the way you do, we usually are on the conservative side and issue boil advisories when we don't really need to, but that kind of covers all liability purposes. Send a sample out, it costs us $20 to get a bacteria sample done, so it's not a big deal, just to prove that the water is safe to drink, so.
Thank you.
But dirty, you get dirty when we flush hydrants too, and that's kind of when, you know, you get a major water break like that, you're basically flushing the line back out. It's just sediment and stuff that sits in there, so. Well, 6, everything is in now. The contractors told us they have all the pieces and parts. They got us on the schedule for either this week, which we're already to Tuesday, or next week. So we won't hold our breath, but hopefully that thing has been down since early summer, late spring. So knock on wood, we haven't had any issues with one of the other ones, or we could have had some problems there.
And that's one of the wells we rotate.
That's one of the wells we rotate, and that is well 6 is the biggest and the largest producing well that we have. So we rotate either 6 or 3 as our 2 main wells, and then we have 3 other smaller wells that help supplement the demand. So thus the reason why we go down to the next one in well 7, and the reason why we've got well 7 and want to go ahead and get that developed and work on that. So we had our kickoff meeting yesterday. Engineers were in. We did some measurement stuff to make sure that we've got all of our setbacks. They know what we want in design wise. They took some pictures of some of the other ones and all that. So we hopefully within a month or so we'll have some projection costs on what it's going to cost, both to get it drilled. It'll go into 2 phases, be a 2-phase bid. The first part will be to drill the well, to do all the analysis, which is pump testing, flow testing, all of the chemical testing that they'll need to do on the water itself, analysis. And then once that is done, we will submit that to the EPA for approval. And I know it's kind of backwards, so we already spent this money, but send it for their approval. Once they approve the PTI, permit to install, then we will put the second phase of it back out, and that will be the actual infrastructure, putting the piping and the electrical and the control panel and hooking it into our system and doing all of that. That will be the second phase that will be bid out. So first phase, drilling a hole, testing the water, both how many gallons is pumping and blah, 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 that part of the structure. And then the second phase will be putting the equipment in, so the pump and the control panel and all that stuff.
And this is inside of our current fence. So.
That is correct. It's inside. It is actually between well 3 and well 6. So, but yes, still within our realm of the fencing and everything. So it's not going to affect anything on the outside of the fencing.
So it take EPA forever to give you the permit that you need.
No, probably a couple months. That's why we were trying to hurry up, and our original goal was to have it bid and drilled this year, so during the winter time they could do their reviews, but things didn't work out exactly the way we had planned it. So hopefully by springtime next year we ought to be at the point of the second phase. I would hope March or April. I had said by June was kind of what my goal was that we get the well 6 online by June, which is our peak times when we start getting our peak usages. Another thing, these are all behind the scenes that people don't realize all the additional costs of stuff is this software solutions update. I know we went to VIP at the auditor's office a couple years ago. It's something that we're migrating to. The system that we have is starting to become outdated at some point in time. You won't have technical support anymore. So to stay ahead of the game instead of being behind the game, we're going ahead and working with them now and updating that. It will allow us to do some different things, billing wise, and also, I guess I don't know how to, there's new water meters out there that we're getting, and they come into 9 digits now. They've used all of the 6-digit meters, and so now with the 9 digits, the systems won't recognize them. So the new updates, so some of my billing clerk is having to manually type stuff in on a lot of these, and we have a lot of new builds, and so now we're all into these 9-digit meters that are out in all these new houses, and the system won't read it and be able to correlate it and do the billing. So that's one of the big things that it's going to help. But there's other little minute things and reports and stuff that we're going to be able to get with it also. Besides, eventually, the municipalities will all be moving over and there will be no more technical support for our old system. And then you're just sitting out there that if something happens, we're relying on these folks to help us, and that's not their field of expertise in that billing software. So
all the meters we put in a couple years ago, are those the 6 digits or?
no, they're the 8 digits. The new ones were 8 digits, but then eventually you ran out of 8 digits. I mean, because think about how many people use those meters across the country.
Yeah.
So eventually, all 8 digits are used up. From 0 to 9999999. So now they bumped over, and we didn't discover it. We couldn't figure out why we couldn't read meters, and I guess supposedly we're one of the leading edge of finding out that the 9 digits are creating problems. So other municipalities across the nation will find that out also, but those 9 digits will start. Somebody made 9 digits and didn't think about the ramifications are there. But I guess I'm not really sure what you do, because eventually you run out of, you could have duplicate numbers, which would create a problem with the billing and stuff.
Well, I know the answer to that. Maybe I should patent it. It's A and then
It's an digit.
B and. Yeah.
Well, see, but so that's still 9 digits. So when it's looking at it, it's looking at all those little digits, whether it's an A or a B or a number. And so when it's trying to pull that information into the billing system, so yeah, it's created a little bit of a problem. We don't have gobs of them out there yet, but everything now that we're putting in is 9 digits. So it's just going to continue to get worse. So, we've got we were talking earlier, Jason, we were talking about the monitoring system that we have and detecting leaks, and with the new alley meters and the new metering system that we put in, being able to determine when somebody's having continuous consumption and trying to get out to their house. We do it every day. They run a report. Ladies in the office run reports, send it out to the crew, and we go to the houses that are on continuous consumption for 25 hours. That's meaning that they've used water, usually saying somebody left a garden hose on, toilets running, could have a break in their line. Could be in the winter time. We see this a lot of times, that houses freeze or the pipes freeze for lack of use of water and right coming into their basement, and they may have. So to try to avoid them having major problems and a major water and sewer bill, we go out every day with this report and go to each one of those houses. Core main with the alley meters that we're putting in, which are the higher end meters, which are what we're putting in on all new services now, have some pressure monitoring. So we talked to them a couple months ago, and we're circling back around now with them, and we have a meeting there in the middle of November with them to discuss what possibilities we can use of some of those pressure readings to be able to determine some of these leaks also, to try to cut down and to help with any water loss that we have, and or leaks in somebody's house. You may see a pressure drop with one of those alley meters and be able to tell us then too. So
alley meter, is that the name of the meter, or is that a meter that's in an alley?
no, it's not a meter that's in an alley. It is, that is the name of that.
Okay.
There's eye pearls and there's alleys. So the eye pearls are the lesser of the two. They're less expensive, but they also have less capabilities. The alley meters are the ones that we can turn on and off from the office once we get the new software and can utilize the 9 digits, because the 8 digits work, but the 9 digits don't. But anyway, and they have some more monitoring capabilities with those alley meters.
And so you mentioned being able to turn off a meter from the office.
Yes.
So if someone has not paid their water bill, we're able to turn that meter off in our office and they won't have the capability of,
Turning it back on.
yes.
Correct. And we're running into this problem with new builds. The guys were leaving the meters on, but shutting the corp off out there, shutting it off at the meter, but not the meter itself. And we just ran into it yesterday again, that we have contractors turning the water on. Nobody bothers to tell us they're not getting billed for the water because we don't know. So we haven't set up the code in the billing software yet to say, hey, you need to start reading. So with this house yesterday, they've been in there for 2 months and we're losing revenue. Besides, we never went into their house to make sure that they have backflow and a pressure regulator, which are requirements as all new builds in our system.
Yeah.
So we're changing the way we're doing things, and that the meters will be physically shut off electronically, and there will be no way of anybody turning a new build on unless one of my guys or one of the ladies in the office turns it on from now on. So we're going to solve that problem because that's a very, very ongoing problem that's been going on for years. That contractors, hey, they have the tool, they can turn the thing on, and or you lay down in the meter pit and you turn it on with a wrench. So
Yeah.
and we run into 3 or 4 months that we didn't get revenue that isn't fair. So so yes. Told you, lots of water stuff. We are scheduled for the front, for you guys know, there's 2 water tanks out in front of Apple Valley. There's a large one, 500,000 gallon. Then there's a smaller, lighter blue standpipe that's 100,000. That was the original one. We upgraded it, did a complete rehab on it. Instead of getting rid of a piece of infrastructure, we spent a little bit of money, and now we've got that other 100,000 gallon tank. It is due to be completely cleaned out. So we're going to start, I think October 30th, I think it is, that we're going to start draining that tank. And they will actually go in, clean any debris out, try to keep the stuff out of the pipes, and you can get a little bit of sediment. We're pouring water out of the ground, so you get some sand or a little bit of sediment or something. So it'll be a complete clean out and a complete visual in there to see if there's any repairs or anything that needs to be done to that as part of an ongoing project that we have with a company that we pay a fee every year, and they do visual outside inspections every year, and then every 2 years they go in and do a clean out. So this one will be cleaned out completely. The back tank, we're using a rover. So the rover, they stick it down inside. It's amazing. I mean, it's kind of like a drone. And they stick it down in there, and I'll bring pictures in so you all can see. They'll send me the videos when we're done. They'll go in and they'll visually inspect that tank, the back tank. That tank's a little harder to take down and clean. There's a lot of work for us because that supplies all the water to Apple Valley. So when we take it down, we have to leave pumps run all the time.
So the 1,000 gallon or whatever.
Yeah, the 100,000, yes.
You'll keep it. This is just a maintenance.
It's just a maintenance. Yep. All we're doing is just going in
Do
and
you use that water when you say drain it? Do you use it? Do you pump that for use, or you truly just have to drain the water?
we're just draining the water. We'll shut
Drain 100,000 gallons of water out.
It's only through a 1-inch line, so yeah, it'll be out by the boulevard, and it'll go down and ultimately, down the road and into the pond that's going down there where all the runoff runs. But
Now,
yes,
how does that factor in when you look at your water loss for the month?
it's only 100,000 gallons.
Okay.
Hey, Jason, wait until we get to that. Wait till we get to the end, and then I'll tell you. Okay, so
So did they physically a person bodily goes inside of that tank?
correct. Yes,
Really?
they will physically inspect the inside of that tank and the joints and everything else. They even do them with the glass line tanks. There's not jobs that they can do with those tanks, the steel tanks. They can do some welding and do some stuff. But before you got here, Bill, we did completely rehab inside and out of that tank. So it was sandblasted back to native material to shiny, and then there was epoxy coats put onto there that are approved by Ohio EPA for the paint, and same way on the outside. So that tank was painted on the outside.
And then how long does it take you to refill that tank?
It won't take very long to refill it. The problem is that we have to chlorinate it. So we chlorinate it really high, okay, to kill all the bacteria because you have somebody walking in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you have to get rid of that water and then refill it again. 200,000 now, Jason. And then do a bacteria sample on it. before we can put it back in service. So we'll actually do testing on there, make sure there isn't any bacteria in it before we actually put it back online, which is open the valve and let both of those tanks feed the booster.
I'd say that pond's gonna be full.
It's not that much.
Fresh chlorinated water pond.
What do we always say, average house uses about 4,000
4,000, yeah.
a month?
Yeah.
So 100,000's.
Let's look at let's look at the water loss and then look at the little chart up there at the end.
I think it'd fill this building up pretty
At the
quick.
end, So anyway, those are the two things we're doing on the front small tank and then the back tank in the back. Just we're going in with the rover so we don't have to drain it and go through all that process because it is a time consuming kind of process and chlorinating it with high chlorinated water and then draining it all back out because you can't have that high chlorinated water to try to test for bacteria because obviously there won't be any. So, parking lot, chip and seal. We've got our parking lot all done and chip and seal and everything. We had done crack and fill, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago to try to keep that was done during the plant upgrade. All that parking lot was blacktop. You're talking few $100,000 to re-blacktop it. So we're trying to keep it. And it looks like it's worked out pretty well. I was a little bit concerned about the guys and the equipment, but we've kind of been on them a little bit about making sure we're not tearing everything up and looks pretty good. So last but not least, except for my little chart that we'll put up there, our new office building, just to give you a little bit of updates. We have abandoned the water well that's on site. It has been done. The septic tank has been crushed and filled and abandoned. Trees have been removed. We have installed a temporary driveway with ODOT's blessing. I already had a permit for that. And we've got silk fence up all along the front property so that there isn't any concerns about any runoff going to that pond. Okay, so we do have silk fence all up on that. So we're kind of ahead of the game. We're working on getting water and sewer, our public water and sewer over there to the property site, and then the contractor, whoever does the building, then we'll make the connections into that. But we'll get
Did we decide to run that on both sides, water and sewer, just,
Your water sewer's gonna come over to that site.
yeah, we're gonna come over to that.
you're not gonna split it? Cause
Well,
then
it'll be
we,
there and then they can go off of that in the future.
cause
Yeah.
then we talk about if we ever wanted to sell the other half of that.
Yeah, or
But
there
it'll
for
be
any
there.
developmental note there. I mean, at this point in time, we're just gonna put a 1-inch service coming across the road. We're gonna put a larger carrier pipe, and then if there's ever development, then we can put a larger line in if we need to. But we don't have the capabilities of tapping for a 2-inch service right now anyway, so we're just gonna bring our 1-inch over, which will be adequate for our building, and then if there's ever any interest, we can upsize. The sewer, we'll have a duplex grinder pump station in there, which is just like is on the other side over there that feeds the pub and all of that infrastructure. So we'll already have that infrastructure in if anybody needs to have sewer on that side.
Okay.
So we'll take care of all that, but we're good with all that. I'll have a meeting with the architect here, hopefully yet this week, and ball's rolling there. They've got some of the plans and stuff done, so
That's good.
And then last but not least, if you can throw up my little sheet and our 100,000 gallon water loss. Don't get too involved with all the busyness on here. The biggest thing over there is the percentages on the right hand side, and this table goes back to, as I said earlier, 2017. The last 3 months, you can see that we're 21, 19, and 6, and 21.2. That's remarkable from where we were at. We traditionally were 62, 65%. Probably the best was 50%. We found some breaks, all of these little things that we've done, water meter installations, the sensing stuff, and all of that has contributed to this.
So
So
Jeff, like where we had a little bit higher than what we've been running March, April, May, would those have been potential water leaks or something?
potential water leaks, yeah.
That causes a blip.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to quantify. I mean, how much water really come out of that? I mean, I don't know how much water came out of that. I could somewhat, calculate it by watching how fast the tank fell and coming up with how many gallons per foot, but how much of that was people still using it too, because it was at peak time when we had the water break last week, but.
So when you look at those percentages, Jeff, is that where you're kind of targets?
I think that that's probably about as good as we're going to get. I mean,
No matter what you do, you're pretty much there.
Didn't we set a goal of about 25%?
5%, I mean, we would felt good if we were gonna get to 25% from, 60. So, yeah, I mean, in the industry, you're looking at, 15% somewhere along in there of water loss. And some of that can just be, meter readings. So 1 meter, if it's 1% off, is telling you that you produce this much, and these are 1% off, and they're not accounting for as much. You could end up with that, 2 or 3% right there real easy. So, I'm pleased with that. The guys, my department has done a good job, and we've found different things, found water leaks. Like I say, I think it's a combination of all of it that goes into there.
And by having all new meters in the field helps, because they're more accurate, so that
Yes.
helps us between what we produce and what we're actually charging.
Exactly. So that increases the revenue and cuts that water loss down. When we were talking about 100,000 gallons, I mean, look what we produced in August. So September's numbers aren't there because I don't get those billing numbers until the end of this month. So that's why there's a blank space on there and it says 100 because.
Millions.
Yeah, those are in million gallons. So you can see that in August, we produced 14.4 million gallons and we sold 11.3 million gallons. So what's 100,000 gallons?
Yeah, we've.
In the grand scheme of things, okay? I mean,
So does this also capture the residents of Millwood?
they're not on water.
Oh, they're okay, just a sewer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they just have sewer. So this is just everybody around Apple Valley and
Okay.
I say Apple Valley, Howard area. So, the school up through to the front entrance and then everybody right there, the bank and the car washes and gas stations and all that stuff out there in the front.
Well, I knew at one time we talked about taking a water line down to Millwood and over to Danville.
Correct. Yes.
So that's the reason.
That's when we were talking about when we had the ARPA money was out, the CARES Act money was out, and that was one of the things that we had discussed as part of one of the projects was, possibly supplying them water, and with that, we would be able to supply water to Millwood. So, I mean, if there's ever any interest, we have the capabilities.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. That question comes up occasionally in the commissioner's office, about development on Coshocton Avenue from the Apple Valley heading back to town, different thing. But I think especially with doing the well project we're looking at for next year, we have capacity to sell water.
Correct. And the closer those two numbers are, the better off we are because we're not wasting a bunch of water and we're gaining that revenue. And so, that's why that water loss is important. Yes, and then there's some other things that I have in the back of my mind that I guess I'd kind of like to see us progress and be able to increase our production out of the wells down there in the future, which would be another capital and project. But if we needed to, if development from Apple Valley came this way and the demand was such.
So I'm gonna ask something that may sound silly. Does this water loss have anything to do with the age of the pipe that you're using?
Of course it does.
So some of these.
Yeah.
Some of these larger months could be age of pipe that you can't control, right?
Yeah, the larger usage of you see May and July, I mean, July, August, those are high usage months too, because we have a lot of people here
Right.
then.
So
So,
your weekenders come in for the holiday weekends.
correct.
Right.
And you'll start to see in this next month, the September, water sold will drastically go down too. I
Right.
think you're probably, I don't know where it's at. I don't know until we're done at the end of this month before we actually calculate that.
So the age of the line's got a lot to.
The age of the lines has a lot to do with that. Yep, they were all new. They would
Right.
be close.
Right.
So, but talking a pretty large capital project to replace them all.
Yeah.
And if we haven't done it, I know the commissioners are just super excited about it. We do need to get them down to the plant and the well field before the weather turns.
Yes,
Say Penny was asking when.
Penny was asking.
Yeah. She can go back to the sewer plant.
It's probably better to go when it's frozen, right?
No.
So we probably should get that on an afternoon and we
Okay.
can go to.
Because the doors will all be shut and then it really smelled inside that screen room. Andy, when you were there, at least I had the doors open.
Now they're spreading manure, so it's probably just as bad as it was in the spring.
It's not me. My place smells good.
Drone would work.
Yeah, there you go, Head. You take a drone and give him a tour. There you go.
Yeah. When it has a sense of smell. on it,
Sense of
too.
smell. Smell-o-vision.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Sorry.
Okay, next we have Kyle Webb with us and we're gonna talk about cybersecurity policy.
Yeah, that, I was gonna go over that in the first agenda item we'll have today, when we are, done. But he is gonna talk about it, but he has submitted the policy, the cybersecurity policy for Knox County that's required, the new requirement of ORC. That's been reviewed by the prosecutor's office. And it's ready for you to adopt, so he's gonna talk a little bit about that, and then we'll adopt that when he is finished.
Well, I'll start off with projects completed since last report, and then we'll end on that. So we've done a lot of work. When we had our leads audit with 911, one of the aspects was a little bit of a change to the way they do their multi-factor authentication. You know, the two-factor when you log in your computer. So we had to modify kind of how we were handling that for 911. So we've got that deployed. We came up with a process for them. One of the things that makes it more difficult for them is they don't have their phones in the dispatch center. So unlike most users, they can't just click the thing on their phone and get them in. So we had to come up with a policy and a way for them to have authenticator keys that they plugged into the computer when they went to sit down at their station. And so there was just a lot around that and getting it deployed to the different shifts and all the users. So that is done. Seems to be going pretty well. So we're happy about that. We have gone through, or as of right now, all the city and county computer replacements are done. We are now planning for 26. So we can get department budget numbers so they can figure out how much they're going to need to budget for next year. So I'm working with them on that. The cybersecurity program policy, which you guys will have in front of you. Trevor's been working hard on. We've been deploying some new domain controllers. Those are servers that help you. That's what controls you logging in your computers, that kind of thing. It's kind of a pain to move those, but we've been working on that. And with it, we've been doing some kind of best practices. So previously, way before even I started here, there were servers that were doing multiple duties. And generally, if you can, you should have servers do pretty much singular tasks. That way, if one thing goes down, you're not taking down a whole bunch of stuff at one time. You're just, one piece of it may not be working quite the way you want. So we've been splitting that out. So now, domain controllers just handle pretty much logins. And then we've been creating file servers that actually handle files instead of mixing the two together, which is how it used to be done. We've been trying to split all that out, which is easy to say, harder to do. But Trevor's been working hard on that. So that is pretty much done. There's just a few little holdouts here and there on that. Ongoing projects. We've been assisting the Board of Elections with early voting and election day prep. I think we're supposed to have an audit with the Secretary of State's office this afternoon as part of the state's security policy and procedures. Just a typical thing that they require. Overall, been pretty unremarkable, which is what I like. Unremarkable is good. Like I said, we're budgeting for 26 for computer replacements. We've been preparing, I've been waiting on getting this program in place, so then I can send it out to some of our partners like Fredericktown, Centerburg, and Centerburg, Gambier, and they can edit them as they need to pass to meet the House bill regulations for them. I know Soil and Water was asking about ours because, you know, they're technically a different political subdivision, so, but they were just pretty much gonna mimic ours since we handle their IT. So I sent that over to Rob this morning over there. We've been working with the jail and the sheriff's office on, they've started a new project. They're switching how their online commissary and all that works for their inmates. And so we've been working with the Keefe Group, I believe is their name. We had a go live prep meeting last week, and I think the actual target date is December 8th.
Tell
So
me the differences between the old vendor and the new vendor, can you?
that's mostly jail operations side of things. From our end, there's not much of a change. It's just swapping out devices. A lot of it's just concerning how people can purchase, what they can purchase, the kits that they have ready for the inmates when they get booked. Those kinds of things that are kind of outside of our, but we're there for the technical sides of it. To a system, that would be a better question for the jail. On the actual day-to-day usage, one of the things we have to work with though is getting it to talk with you know, our jail management system, which is Central Square Zerker. So that's going to be part of the challenge that we're going to have, is getting the two vendors to talk together, which sometimes with Central Square is rather difficult. So we've started on that, and they know, they've worked obviously with Central Square a lot in the past, and they're aware of what obstacles and things there will be. So I think this group has their stuff well put together. In the meeting, they've worked a lot in Ohio on different county jails, so I don't think that'll be a big deal. But yeah, the target is December 8th for them, which is good because I believe the old system, their contract ends the 5th. So it'll be like
Good.
Friday, and then Monday it go live with a new one. So hopefully no issues there. They've had some other vendor changes that will be happening. I know they're looking at what controls their door access and cameras. They're looking at changing all that, which is a good thing because the current system, the vendor is just not, it's just not good. I don't know if at the time when it was put in, they may have been the top, but anymore it's very difficult to get a hold of them, very difficult to get them to do needed maintenance, those types of things. So I'll be looking forward to hopefully switching out that software. We have been looking at, so I don't know if any of you use a password manager. It's becoming a new thing because so many websites and applications require you to have, you know, more and more complex passwords. And so a lot of people need to have, well, a lot of people end up having a notebook they write everything in, which I guess isn't the worst thing because someone have to have physical access to that notebook in order to gain access, which saves you from all the international issues of hacking and that sort of thing. You're more or less limited to local issues. But one of the things that is become big, and we've had to use it in IT forever, is our password management tools. We have about 1,000 different passwords in IT that we share across all, and what's like, well, our staff can all access them together. No, we do not have them all memorized. Some of them are, 30 characters long, and it's usually just gibberish auto-generated, which is good and secure, very difficult to maintain. So we've been using a company for a while. It used to be kind of the gold standard. Now there's a lot more players in the field. But we've been looking at a new system. It ties in with our current monitoring and maintenance software. So actually, if we remote into a computer, we can access the passwords from that screen instead of having to open a different app and all that. The other nice thing about it that'll be really useful is we can actually offer it to the end users. So what we can do is offer it to our staff and say, here's this password management tool. It'll be branded with Knox County. It'll allow them to put all the different passwords that they have to use for the day-to-day work in there. Perhaps allow them not to reuse the same passwords over and over, which may or may not happen. But very useful, effective tool. Another thing that can be useful is, let's say, the clerk's office, they have an online web portal they have to use for the state, but they have one login. But it may happen that multiple people have to input that data. Well, trying to set up a password with the username and password that is shared between multiple people is difficult. What this will allow is you have one place, it's shared to everyone. So if it requires you to update it, you update it there, and then immediately the other two now have the newest password. So if they go to log into it, now they have the new password to log in. It's very nice. It's the only way we can operate upstairs. The old way to do it, I guess, 15 years ago, you had Excel sheets.
Yeah.
That was, it's great until someone gets a hold of the Excel sheet and then it's all over.
That sounds good, but if the company you're using gets hacked, what happens then?
Well, we account for that. So what we do on our end is we actually do exports of all the passwords. They get physically stored in a fireproof safe. So if anything were to happen, major incident where all the passwords somehow were compromised, lost, whatever, we have a copy in the safe that we can access and move forward with. So yeah, there are potential issues with a password manager, but generally more good than bad with them. So we're looking at that. Still getting pricing with them. The biggest issue is just getting all our passwords from the old system to this system just to test it out, because it doesn't do us any good if we can't do day-to-day testing with it. So I had to import and export about 1,000 different passwords. That was a task. So beyond that, juvenile probate court, they have a Henshin. Henshin is their main vendor over there that runs their line of business software for the courts. They're big in Ohio. A lot of counties use them. Right now, they have their own physical servers. There's 3 different servers that run the Henshin operations. That was put in right a little after I started here. But we talked with Henshin, we've talked with probate juvenile court. We can easily absorb. They're not high usage servers. They don't use a lot of storage. They don't use a lot of processing power. It's mostly a data entry style system, database system. So we can easily absorb that into our main county server stack without putting any stress on any of our systems at all. And it'll save, I think it was about $15,000. Otherwise they would have to buy all new equipment, and then we have to maintain that equipment alongside of our other equipment. This makes sense to bring it all together, back up, maintain one server stack instead of multiple. They're on board, we're on board. I'm just trying to get a date. I was trying to work with them to maybe do something around the holidays, just because there's usually a little less going on in the courthouse around different, especially around Christmas and New Year's, that time frame. So it'd be nice to be able to do that migration then, but I have not heard back from them on the exact dates. But it may end up being in the spring. There's no huge rush, but always like to move those around if we can to meet everyone else's schedule, so we're not having to take anyone down, say, hey, you guys can't use Henshin this day. It's easier again said than done, because if people are calling in asking for updates on certain things that now they don't have access to. Other things going on, battery backup, network equipment, it's just been on the radar. No critical need in a couple places to put that, so we haven't gone out of our way to, we'd have to pretty much do that on a weekend. So that hasn't happened yet, but it will soon. Password change tool, we've just kind of had that on hold because we have so many other projects going on right now. We started discussions for firewall replacements, trying to get quotes on that so we can budget for next year. Mount Vernon Police Department planning for their new building. We went over we had a second meeting about that. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. They just need to know, where's the wireless access points going? Where are the drops in the walls going? Where's the server room going? Where's the network going? Where's cameras going? I mean, all kinds of things that go into a new building that you don't necessarily consider right off the top. So we've been working with them. The city hall move, I know dates have been moved around for that. Currently, I talked with, service safety director this morning. It seems like they're about 30 to 45 days out currently. We'll see, hopefully that maintains, but I think, one of the things we have to work with is internet service there through Spectrum, fiber internet. Sometimes that can take longer to install. Originally they were telling me 60 to 90 days. So I was kind of pushing back on them. I think we can meet the city's timeline now, but hopefully everything all goes well and we can get them moved in. Hopefully that doesn't interfere too much around, Christmas time and that, with staffing levels, but we'll do what we can to assist them. The city phone system cleanup, we're pretty much there. There's a couple more that we can do, but because of the city hall move, departments are gonna get kind of split up in different ways than they are currently, so we're waiting to see to build out the system so it's more functional, instead of building it out now, then having to rip it out and redo it for the COTC building. It just makes sense to leave it and then build a whole new system with the stuff we have for the COTC, so that's that. City IT agreement, I know that was in front of council, because I spoke when it was under first reading, but I have not heard anything since.
I haven't either. We need to probably follow up with Tanner.
Yeah, so we probably need to follow up with the city and Tanner on that. Yeah, because it was the first reading and I would guess they would have been they would have gone through 3 readings by now, so I'll have to ask on that. The life-size camera system, again, there's so much going on over at the sheriff's office with changing of vendors that we're just kind of leaving that one go because the current system's working, so gonna try to get through that one a little bit longer. Hopefully everything stays working. And the same thing with the fax system. We've got lots of other things on the radar. So things that are currently functional the way they are, we're just gonna push off until the rest of the projects are out of the way.
Oh, I know you mentioned the city's gonna adopt a cyber plan close to ours. Are you providing anything to the villages that we have contracts with?
That's what I was gonna send them, I was gonna send them ours basically.
Just say you can.
Modify, yeah. And that's what I sent to Rob for soil and water is, here's ours, if you need any assistance in modifying it to meet
Yeah.
specifically soil and water, let me know. I'm gonna do the same thing now that we have the prosecutor's blessing.
Is it only required, so even like Frederick County EMS, is it a requirement of them?
If it's a
Or-
political subdivision at all, then
Okay.
they have to have
So
one.
just basically, everybody we have a contract with, you'll send it to and
Yeah.
say, you need help, let us know, otherwise adapt it to your specifications.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and most of the things, so looking at the policy, some of this I'll send out to them, like I've got like our risk management policy, incident response plan, incident reporting templates, those kinds of things we have already on the IT side. I can send those to them because, those are the same kinds of policies and procedures we're gonna follow for any of our clients, any of the people that we assist, we're gonna follow the same policies for them. So, the plan should pretty much be the same. You look at the scope, it's all county IT assets. Obviously, they'll have to modify that a little bit. And then the definitions pretty much come straight out of, House Bill, 96 or, ORC 9.64. You've got what constitutes a cybersecurity incident, which it's a substantial loss of confidentiality, integrity, or availability of a covered entity's information system or network, a serious impact on the safety or resiliency of a covered entity's operational systems and processes, a disruption of a covered entity's ability to engage in business or industrial operations or deliver goods or services, unauthorized access to an entity's information system or network, or non-public information contained therein that is facilitated or caused by a compromise of a cloud service provider, managed service provider, or other third-party data hosting provider or supply chain compromise. It pretty much covers all their bases of if anything happens on your system, any unauthorized access, any outage caused by an external entity, you've got to report it. So there's different severities of your critical, high, moderates, and lows, which we have detailed in our incident response plan. But this all basically follows the National Institutes of Standards and Technology, the NIST, the cybersecurity framework, or the Center for Internet Security. Those are the two things that House Bill basically points to, and those are the pretty much the premier gold standard for any cybersecurity policy is going to be built off the NIST or CIS framework. The federal government's been building off of that for a long time. So those are pretty much the gold standard that everyone points to. A lot of that, is access control, make sure people only have access to what they need to do their work. The multi-factor authentication, which we've been pushing out for a while now. So we're ahead of the game. Encryption, you got to have your data encrypted, while it sits on a server and while it's being transmitted somewhere else. So we've been doing that with our email system for as long as I've been here. I implemented the encryption system. So if you email someone externally that has data in it, that's, protected health information or even credit card information, those kinds of things, our mail system will automatically encrypt it. So it can't be stolen in transit, basically. It can't be intercepted and read. Now, whether the other person's email gets compromised, but that then gets pushed on the recipient on that. Another big thing for this is vendor oversight. And this is something that a lot of places struggle with, and we're no exception, is making sure that we have vendors that do things for us, let's say Henshin, probably juvenile court, or software solutions for VIP, or Harris for our Aumentum for the MVP that treasurers and auditors use. We rely on them to maintain their software, which lives on servers that we have here. And so we're very reliant on them to follow proper procedures and protocols, but it's also reliant on us to make sure that they are doing that too. That's something that the House bill kind of pushed, is that we're doing a little bit more vendor oversight, which we've been pushing for a while. I've looked into different vendor management systems where instead of the vendors being able to access the systems through their own tools, they would have to use our tool. And then it would get recorded while they're doing it. Everything they do while they're in our systems would be recorded and saved. So we would have access in case something nefarious happened. A lot of entities have been, not a lot. I don't know what percentage it would be, but compromise of systems is becoming more common through third parties. So let's say you have a vendor. If the vendor themselves get compromised in all of their systems, if they have a way into your systems to do the work they need to do, well, now the threat actor now has access to that system and maybe could access, our systems through that. So that's just become, the supply chain compromise is what they call it. And that's becoming more common instead of the hackers or the threat actors looking for, okay, well, I'm gonna hack Knox County. No, well, there's this company and they service like 80 of the 88 counties in Ohio. It makes a lot more sense to get those guys, and then we can have access to 80 counties instead of just one. That's becoming a more standard thing, and so that's why it's more reliant on us to have to put, more oversight, and that, so any vendor is gonna have to, sign off on these policies, procedures, make sure they're doing the same thing that we're doing for their systems. Training and awareness, we've been doing this again. I plan on pushing out some more training even, and maybe splitting it up throughout the year. So instead of just the 1 hour, instead of 1 hour that you have to do every year, maybe broken up into, 15-minute increments each quarter.
So there is a criteria you have to uphold when it comes to training.
Yes, yep, you have to have training provided, and everyone has to take the training. So, again, a good thing that they're pushing out and requiring, because I know there's a decent amount of places that just don't do any of that. And the state's offering some. We've got a really good system through KnowBe4, which is kind of the gold standard for training for cybersecurity. But the state is offering something for those political subdivisions that don't have the resources to, pay for that. The other big thing was the ransomware restrictions. So basically the county can't pay a ransom for ransomware without making it legislation. So it has to come before the public. Because that was happening a lot is political subdivisions were paying this and the public just wasn't aware what taxpayer dollars was being used for. So this brings in the public spotlight. If you're gonna pay it, the public needs to know about it and why.
And probably the only downside of that is now the threat actors know what you're willing to pay, so the next time they know what to ask for.
Yep, yep.
Cause now it's a public record. on
Now
what
it's a
you're
public
willing to
record of
pay.
what you're willing to pay.
And,
Yeah.
and you're prolonging the inevitable because you're gonna end up paying them. So why have the public get involved about?
Well,
At the end of the day, somebody's gonna pay it.
I wouldn't say, so if you're properly prepared, you don't have to pay them. What a lot of places end up doing is paying them anyways, even if they are prepared. I've seen it with hospitals, large Fortune 500 companies will end up paying it, even though they get their systems restored. Let's say their backup was from, 10 p.m. last night. Well, if you're a large company, you could still have a lot of business that gets done from 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. when the incident happens. And so they're willing to pay that amount of money to get that amount of data back, for good or bad. Hospitals, they do it, and it's more of they're afraid they're gonna lose data.
Is it more of a confidentiality at that point?
It's a
So they
confidential.
could lose 12 hours worth of data, which could be a
That's fair.
tremendous amount.
It could be a tremendous amount of data, or it could just be enough where, like, in the future, if someone says, I need this record, and it was during even 15 minutes of a break between a backup, it might be worth it to them, but again, it makes the ransom payments get costlier and costlier. And but at least this way, what was happening, and this is why I do agree with this to an extent, is cities and local municipalities, smaller ones, were relying on their insurance as their cybersecurity. So they were just like, oh, we've got an insurance policy, we'll just pay the ransom. It's like, okay, well, that's great and all, but you guys need to have something in place to have prevented it. They weren't putting any stops in front of that. And so they were just paying it and just going forward. Where now at least there's someone has to answer some questions of what did you have in place to try to prevent this? You can't prevent everything. I mean, that's just how it is. You can't stop all threats. If you could, I mean, you'd be working for the NSA, and even then they can't stop all those threats. So, but it at least makes people question of what did you have in place? Did you have anything in place? You should have something in place. And that's kind of what this does.
Creates accountability.
There's a little bit of accountability there, yeah.
It's important on both ends.
Yeah, because there was a lot of laxed people just saying, oh, we got insurance for that. That's not a policy. A bulletproof vest is not a. Yeah. So then reporting requirements, you have to report it 7 days to the Ohio Department of Public Safety. And then you have to notify the auditor of state. That has a lot longer timeline for them.
I was surprised at 7 days. Well.
You know, I've been shocked sometimes by some of the reporting, even some of the safety meetings of like OSHA. Like if there's a death on a job site, you have like 24 hours to call someone and report that. And it's like, that feels like it should be faster than 24 hours. But yeah.
Move so fast.
Yeah, well, again, for good or bad, what happens a lot, and this isn't gonna make it really much better, is other counties or agencies or municipalities, they'll get hit with an attack. And everyone keeps it hush hush. It's all under wraps. No one talks about it.
The publicity.
They don't want the publicity, which is understandable, I get it, but no one warns the surrounding municipalities, counties that this is happening. No one tells them, hey, we got hit with this. Maybe they sent you an email that might have a compromised link in it or something. And so there's a lack of reporting to other entities to let them know, hey, we experienced this attack in this way. Look out for it. There's just not that. And
It was a vendor related attack.
yeah,
We talked about earlier that vendors been compromised and they may be servicing various counties.
yeah. And that should be on the vendor to report it, but they don't always do that either. And so reporting it to the Ohio Department of Public Safety, I don't think there's anything that says that they have to then tell everyone else that this happened. You report it to them, and I don't know where that ends up going. I don't know if that's a public information or not. So there's a lot of communication that needs to happen more or less, and this House bill unfortunately didn't really address that part of it. There needs to be more communication between the counties and cities and municipalities on creating these. I do like that because of this, there's been a lot more webinars for bringing all the political subdivisions together to talk about these things. And I've seen more communication between counties and stuff of what are you doing for this? What are you doing for that? Which is good. I like that. But there needs to be more of that, I think.
Move in the right direction.
It's moving in the right direction. And this is the first step, and I appreciate that. One thing it did do too is it did flat restrict all cybersecurity plans, risk assessment, all that incident documentation, all that is now exempt from public records. It was kind of before, but it wasn't explicitly stated that way. So now basically someone can't say, hey, what's your security policy? And then immediately use that to be like, oh, well, there's this back door over here that they didn't list in their security policy. So that was a good thing. Other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. Again, it's more of a first step, and I appreciate the state is moving forward with something because that's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's funny how this has all changed years ago. It used to be your banking information and business information they tried to get.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want to shut you down and they want personal information that happens to be in your system. So
Yeah.
it switched a little bit over the years.
Well, yeah, they realize that they don't even have to. It's a lot more difficult to steal your data and take it somewhere else than it is to basically lock your data up where it already is. And it's easier, cheaper for them, and it puts you over a barrel basically. So you have to do it unless you have the right things in place, right systems in place. Again, nothing is foolproof. I'd like to say that we have plenty of systems in place to prevent any attack. I like to say we have plenty of systems in place to recover from an attack, because it's not if, it's when, in general, and what the scope is, limited versus wide. Our job is to make it as minimal as possible if it did happen. And then to be able to recover from it as easily as possible. So if you don't focus on the recovery part, the prevention part is great, but if it fails and you don't have the recovery part, it's worthless. So we try to hit both ends, and have everything in place to keep us secure and get us back up and running if something did happen.
We're glad you're at the helm.
And we should probably flag this too with our like annual releases and all that, because it says this policy is required to be reviewed annually or after any incident. So we probably need to make sure every year it's reviewed and then brought back, at least if we don't adopt it again in session, but make a note that
It's been reviewed
annually, yeah.
Did you speak with people from Corsa, our insurance carrier, as to when you put this together?
We've gotten a lot of documentation emailed to us. I think Courses had a couple different webinars. They're still having some. I tried to join the one and they had some technical difficulties and it got delayed. I think it's now in November. But I've done a decent amount of researching back and forth, and then HR and other entities have been getting emails about it, and so they've been forwarding it to me. So I've been taking in a lot of different aspects of the policy. But again, the state bill is pretty general. It's not overly specific of what you have to have, but it's a start. So
What will our insurance people have to approve your?
no, I mean they've been auditing us since I've been here. It's been getting more and more sophisticated, and they've required more and more things for
Yeah,
our
they
insurance.
have to fill out some things Robin's in the middle now of doing our annual renewal, and that's some of the things they want is some checklist of what he has with different entities.
Yeah, of course, it's been ahead of the game.
Yeah.
On
They want all the contracts with all the, the villages, the city, they require all of those contracts for review. And so
a lot of
involved.
yeah, of course, it's definitely ahead. It's usually like in municipalities that have to go off on their own for insurance, or they don't have access to of course, a style entity, and those insurance companies didn't always require all these things. A lot of them are putting them in now, because again, people are treating insurance as their cybersecurity.
Just think for their own protection, you think they would.
It'd be like leaving your house unlocked all the time, because they're like,
one
well, if someone comes in and steals all my jewels or jewelry or whatever, the insurance company will just give me money and I'll just replace them. It's like it's not a good idea.
Now Trevor was doing something yesterday. Was this part of this? Oh,
That's he was probably working on
He was just changing our S drive over to the
Yeah.
A drive, which I think that's all done. And
yeah, that's part of that file server migration
Okay.
that I discussed earlier. Trying to separate duties of our servers and spread out. So if we have any kind of issue with one of them, it doesn't affect a bunch of different
Yeah.
things.
Good.
So
Yeah, so you wanna do the motion then?
yeah, we probably should do all these before we go into executive. So we have approved the cybersecurity policy for Knox County.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those favors say aye. Aye.
Then we have, we're done with Kyle, right?
Yes, yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Approved contractor application for payment number 2 to McConnell Contracting for $524,760.15 for the Pleasant Valley Road Bridge project.
Motion to approve.
Second
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Then we have a contractor application for payment number 4 to Law General Contract in the amount of $90,297.37 for the Danville Inley Road Safety Improvement Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Those favors say aye.
And then we do have one ad. Cameron submitted a resolution for you to authorize him to apply for funding with OPWC, and this is relating to the Danville Inley Road Safety Improvement Phase 3 project. And so this is authorizing him to apply for that and then for him to enter into any agreements that are may be necessary and appropriate for obtaining this financial assistance.
Motion to approve.
I second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Alright,
And then I know we're, OSU extensions coming in a minute. To go into executive session for personnel, and I know there's not gonna be any action relating to that. So just as a note, Thursday, we will not have session because we have, of course, a HR required training that all four of us need to attend at the Memorial Building. So we will have bills at 9 o'clock. And what is the training starting?
Training starts at 9,
8:45.
oh, 8:45.
So maybe,
Bills.
pop in here first and sign the bills, so then we can get over there for the start of that training. And that will be, and other than that, there won't be session Thursday because of that. And that's all I have. And so I wanted to go through that because I think once we go into executive, Andrew, we probably don't have to wait around to back.
And then, so the purpose of the executive sessions on personnel,
It's to discuss the employment of a public employee.
okay? So, take a motion to go into executive session to
Well,
discuss. Yep.
one more thing.
Before you do all that, can you get all this stuff
Yeah.
done?
And I forgot, Penny, you have one item on the agenda that I needed to, before we go out.
Yes,
Go.
We just need to say that we did receive, in our possession expedited type 2 annexation request submitted by Kyle Stroll, attorney for Thistlegate. And this is for 85.407 acres from Hilliard Township to the village of Centerburg. So at this point, all we're doing is Penny has received it and we need to state in the minute that we have received it. That's kind of it at this point.
That was for annexation, is that what you said?
type 2 annexation.
Type 2 annexation, yeah. So we'll still continue to work on that, but we have to enter in the record that we received it because the clock starts now. All right, that's all I have, Bill.
Okay, so we'll sign the bills here and then I need to have a motion for going into executive session. For personnel discussion.
I motion that we go to executive session.
Second.
Okay, and you,
Commissioner Lester,
Yes.
Mr. C,
Yes.
Commissioner Purcell.
yes. So we are going into executive session and when we come out of that, we will be adjourned and we will not be doing any other business. So